families, the family members, within a year or within a short time, they start to ask him, when are you going to come back home? When are you coming? Why is it they don't even consider if the person is already stable financially, mentally? They don't consider that. They don't consider if the person is already gathered the riches enough that can allow him to come back. If the person is already okay, they don't consider all those things. They ask you, when are you going to come back? And they expect you to come back with groceries, with luggage, with investments, with a lot of things. They expect you to come back with different things, big things, but they give you a short time. They think you just go out. When you just go out of the country, you just get there, and then you start to get money instantly. You start to get a lot of money. You start to be doing good. That's what they think. But life is not like that, and abroad life seems to be more harder than the Zimbabwean life. In foreign land, you have a lot of limitation. So these are all the factors that you need to consider when you are being pressured to go back to Zimbabwe. So the first point is living Zim does not mean you hate Zimbabwe. You might love Zimbabwe whilst you are staying in America. You might love Zimbabwe whilst you are staying in China, because the reasons why you leave Zimbabwe is not because you hate it, but you go for different reasons. You might leave Zimbabwe to go for education. Maybe you're going for better education. You want to excel in education. You want to do your masters. You want to do whatever. So you try by all means to gather the best education that you can have. So it's good for you also. So you don't be pressured. When are you going to come back? This and that. We miss you. Yes, they miss you, but don't be pressured to go back home. You need to be bold enough to stand on the decision yawatomeka iwe kuti wakwenda abroad wakunotsvaka education. Some people also they left Zimbabwe because they want better life. Personally, they want better life. They want to advance in the standard of life that they are living, because the standards of life yawairarama Zimbabwe and get a bit poor. So obviously don't be pressurized because dzoka iwo chitonoti zvawaendera usati wazwana. You left for education, make sure you left for a better standard of life. Make sure you have already created a better standard of life. So you don't just be pressurized. Check why you left Zimbabwe and introspect if you have already achieved why you left Zimbabwe. That's when you can start to think of going back home. Don't just rush kuenda kumba wostanga kutambudzika, and then you start to become a burden to the people who are staying in Zimbabwe. And then point number two is that this thing, it must be a personal decision. You don't just rush kuenda ku Zimbabwe. It must be a personal decision. You must think for yourself. Usalawe kuti munhu akufungire kuti enda ku Zimbabwe kwanaka zvazodai. No, I always tell people kuti hakuna chinonzi munhu anoyachiudza kuti ku Zimbabwe kwanaka. You have to feel the Zimbabwe in you for you to go back to Zimbabwe, because the reason why you didn't stay in Zimbabwe is because you felt like Zimbabwe wasn't good for you, or you are staying in abroad without the Zimbabwe in you. So now when you start to feel Zimbabwe in you, that's when you have to start to think of going back home. That's what I think. And I think it's very practical kuti paunobva kuZimbabwe unowachitofila kuimaka nyika kuti munyika muno tikutambura tikudai, and then abroad iwo waomerwa neupenyu koko waungodzokera apa iwo uchiri kuona Zimbabwe kuti iri kutambura, so uchiri kuona neview iyoyo. Kana uchiri kuona Zimbabwe neview iyoyo, it means usati ready kuenda kuZimbabwe. When you start to see opportunities in Zimbabwe, is when you start to think of going back to Zimbabwe. It's the right time to think of going back to Zimbabwe. When you start to see some different opportunities, when you start to see that it's better to stay in Zimbabwe than staying in abroad, that's when you can start to think, let me go back home. I think that's the best decision that you can make at that time when you're thinking that Zimbabwe is more favorable to you than staying abroad. So point number 3, some people are still building stability. So don't be pressurized in the moon aenda ku Zimbabwe nas, and then you think let me go tomorrow, and then you are not yet stable. You have not yet created something that can sustain you. At the end, you're going to be a burden, and it's going to be a problem to you. It brings a lot of problems. So you need to make sure you do a personal decision, and you need to make sure that your life is now stable, because you can't come back whilst you are not yet stable. And then wauya muno muZimbabwe munomu takutotanga kuitisa mamwe madhira usinganzwisise paiwo life yako isati yamugwara, wakutotenderera, wakutopedzera wakushorwa. But to some extent it's because you failed to make a decision iri personal, influence one influencers or influence one social media. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4, supporting family from abroad. A lot of families andotoziya umaraini kwangu zaitorarama nemari inobva abroad. So iwewe you are supporting your family from abroad. You are sending money, you are sending goods, you are sending groceries every month to your family, and then you think of going back to Zimbabwe because you have got you have been pressurized by social media or by different influencers or different individuals are surrounding you, maybe friends or what, and then you're forgetting that you are the one who is the breadwinner at home. You are the one who is sending money to your parents. You are the one who is sending medication for your grandmother. So if you forget those things, if you don't consider those things, and then you just migrate back to Zimbabwe, you're going to fail to provide everything that you are providing for your family, everything that you are providing for your relative. Their life or the lifestyle to start to degrade. So it's better sometimes it's better for you to make a personal decision on these things. Don't be influenced, don't be pressurized. Iwewe ndio unoziva nhamo dzenyu, nhamo dzako munhu unodziziva. Iwewe ndio unoziva kuti nhamo yangu yakamira so, nhamo yangu ndakadai ndaikunda, ndakadai ndatoisa moto, ndatokuchidzira moto kuti unyanye kubaka munhamo yangu. So ziva nhamo yako, ziva zvaunoda, usanyanye kupiwa pressure nevanhu, because ukawanza kuona mavideo aya you end up thinking kuti handinofanira kuenda. Usangoenda. All these things that I'm considering here, you need to consider those things before you move to Zimbabwe. Otherwise unonosvika ikoko wotozobve chiseko chenyika, vanhu vaive vangu vachikumbokupa pressure vanenge vakuseka futi. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4, that's mental peace and stability. Vanhu vakatourayirwa hama, vanhu vakaitwa sei a lot, and it's mental stress, and they've left Zimbabwe because they need to heal. They need to start to think afresh, to refresh their minds. So don't be pressurized on ngatidzodai whilst you feel kuti iwewe uchine kurwadziwa, usati stable, mindset yako you are still stressed and so on. So you have to stay there until wakufila kuti I am now okay. You don't have to think much kuti ufana kuenda kuZimbabwe. So you are always welcome there to Zimbabwe. So let's move on to number 6. Number 6, coming back unprepared can create more problems. Yes, coming back to Zimbabwe unprepared can create more problems for you. You end up vanhu vakutokuti uri rombe because why you said prepared. Yes, these names vanotodedzerwa vanhu vanotanga kunzi uri rombe why, because you have come back from abroad once you are not prepared of what's going to happen to you, and you are not prepared. You didn't prepare anything. You didn't create some systems that will help you to sustain in Zimbabwe. And unosvika ikoko vanhu vane life yavo yavatojaira, ione yako yavajaira kutry kuita copy, and time iri kufamba, une maschool fees aufana ubhadhara, une wakutokuona unge uri rombe wakatadza kuonera or wakatadza kudecide. But to some extent wangochipiwa pressure nevanhu vari pasocial media, vatoenda vatori prepared, vaenda vakatobuilda masystems avo atori well sustaining, and vari kuita doing well, and then iwo wangomhanyira because waona tight aenda kana kuti waona any social media influence aenda these things, because these are big decisions. This is a lifetime decision. Kuti decision iwo uri kutoitira vana vako, uri kuitira mukadzi wako, kuitira everyone, kuitira even vanhu vanosupporta, uri kutovaitira decision iwo, because it's gonna affect everyone around you decision iwo. So obviously you need to be sure with this decision. Let's go to number 7. Number 7, this is the last one. Like, you can't say you're loving Zimbabwe, that's why you're going back to Zimbabwe. No, you might love Zimbabwe whilst you are staying abroad. You might love Zimbabwe whilst you are staying far away, but you will be just wishing it to improve. So you invest in Zimbabwe, or if it is that you don't invest, you try by all means to do anything that you can do to improve your country. Whilst you are abroad, you can show people. Even kune vamwe vanhu vanotobuda painternet vaitotaura kuti guys, kune mishini yakati unogona kuitenga ogadzira matishu, kune mishini yakati inogona kutengwa inogadzira zvidhina iri fast, this and that. A lot of things that you can contribute, you can contribute that way, and it's very good for the economy also that way, because uri kupa vanhu exposure and zvakawanda zvinogona kucontribute kuti nyika yako ibudirire nekuida kwaunoita even usiri muZimbabwe. So don't be pressurized nevanhu vari kuenda kuZimbabwe. Vanhu vakatoita madecisions avo, vamwe vakatoitawo futi madecisions nepressure, and right now vari kuchema. Vamwe vakaita madecisions vanyatsostrategize and right now vari happy. So iwewe kuti usaende usina kustrategize, ndakuitirawo video kuti uone, umbofungawo nezvazvo also, consider mafactors andakuudza kuti zvinhu zvingafambewo zvakanaka here. Iwe ukaenda mangwana ndiwo unozovera mberi, kana kuti mangwana you will be self-sustained and also be a burden to the people staying in Zimbabwe. And guys, thank you so much for keeping on subscribing. Thank you so much for liking and sharing this video. Kana waona videos guys, please subscribe. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Thank you.